After we did the tutorials where we used the new Source Browser of Edius 6.0, we had the occasion to use it in real-life situations a few times, and found that there may have been a few things that we should have pointed out or added in those tutorials. And so I thought, rather than make an addendum to tutorials that people may have already watched and wouldn't think to go back again, I would make this new tutorial, the Source Browser Revisited, using version 6.02, and show you some of the things that I have run up against using the Source Browser. And then as I get emails from other people who have run up against some situations using the Source Browser that I may not cover in this tutorial, we'll add to this tutorial. We'll make an addendum to it. So if you find yourself running up against some problems with the Source Browser, especially as the version 6.0 matures and new versions of 6.0 are released, we'll probably see a 6.10, a 6.30 perhaps, a 6.50, and no doubt this new tool, the Source Browser, will be upgraded, changed, and so we'll want to keep track of that, and we'll make track of those changes here in this particular tutorial, the Source Browser Revisited. Well, just a couple things I wanted to point out. After I made the tutorial about how you could rip DVDs, a client stopped in and wanted to rip the last 10 years of DVDs that I have made for them so that we could put them up on our website. And so I said, oh yeah, no problem. We've got this new version, Source Browser. I can just put those DVDs in my system, and we can rip those real easy. And to my embarrassment, I found that we ran into some real problems using the Source Browser. There may have been 6 programs on the DVD, but Edius only ripped the first one, and the other 5 had problems. And so I ended up having to, while the guy was here, download Nero 10 and rip them that way and bring them into my computer that way. So it was kind of an embarrassing situation. And in checking with the forum group at Edius Canopus Grass Valley, I discovered what my problem was. And it's just a small setting. If you go under settings, and by the way, I highly recommend that you, if you have not already, join the forum at Edius Grass Valley website. Very helpful information there that almost any problem that you might be running up against, if you do a search there, you'll probably find some answer. And if it's not in the search, you can just post your question, ask your question, and usually within an hour you have 2 or 3 responses to help you out with your situation. All right, so let's go find the setting that needs to be changed in order to be able to rip a DVD that has more than one program on it. And it will be under Settings, System Settings, and go down and look for the Audio CD DVD importer exporter option. And the thing that you want to have checked in order for this to be able to actually capture more than one program from a DVD, or rip a DVD that has more than one program, is this Reconstruct Files. So with that checked, let's hit Apply and actually pop the DVD in that I was having problems with and see if it works now. And when Windows pops up there wanting to play it there, just go ahead and close that, and then switch to Source Browser in your tabs, and go down and find the DVD. It, in this case, is on my E drive, and the 7 programs do show up there. Let's go ahead and select all 7 programs, and then what we want to do is select Add and Transfer to Bin. And if we want to watch our progress there, we can select Show Background Jobs, and we can watch the DVD being ripped there. Okay, we're back, and the job is completed. And we can close that window and go over to our bin, and it looks like they've showed up fine. Let's just double click on this and put it in the player. This is an older DVD, and it looks like it was shot in the 3:4 aspect ratio. And my current project is 16:9, so that's why we've got the edges showing up like that. Yeah, looks like they've all come in fine, and if I had have known this little trick, this little box that needed to be checked in settings, I wouldn't have been so embarrassed when my client came by and I tried to use this source browser to rip the DVDs. Okay, the other thing that I wanted to show you is how you can access media using the source browser that may not show up directly. I recently purchased a Canon XF300 camera. It's a tapeless camera. It just shoots to cards, and you download the cards to hard drives in the field. And then when you hook them into your system, in theory, they should show up. They're XF files, and the first time I tried to take a look at these clips that I had shot, I very excitedly opened up my source browser and clicked on XF, and they didn't show up in the source browser, and I was quite concerned. I would double click on it and nothing would happen. I know that the hard drive was attached, and I would expect it to show up, but what you really have to do is point Edius to the hard drive that you want it to look at, and actually even the folder. So you have to actually right click on the XF and open folder and navigate to the hard drive that you were using. In my case, it was the iOmega drive. And then as you open up that drive, you'll see all of the sessions that I saved these files to each night. The Canon camera comes with some proprietary software that allows you to transfer the files from the CF cards to your hard drive, and then gives the folder a name. And if you open these folders, you'll see that all of the clips are there, but each clip is in its own individual folder. And so to bring them in manually would be quite a tedious job. You'd have to open up every folder. Edius does allow you to do that. If we were to go to the bin and open up this hard drive, and open up one of these sessions and look under contents and clips, we would see that you could open up each one of these individual folders and actually go after the media itself, open it up, and sure enough, Edius can read it. Let's see if we can get a better example here. Okay, let's double click on that. It shows up in the player, and it looks like it's one of these clips that we did a flyover or a flyby of Mount Everest. And so you can see that you could actually access the media using the normal open file method from the bin window, but that would be a very slow and tedious process. And so using the source browser, go down to the XF option there for XF files, open folder, point to one of your folders where Canon has saved these clips to, and then hit OK. And now you'll see that it is referenced under the XF folder, and when you click on it, all of the clips that are in that particular folder do show up in the source browser ready for use. Now, unfortunately, this only allows you to open one folder at once. It'd be nice if when I go into my hard drive that I could just go ahead and using my shift key select all of these folders, but unfortunately it doesn't allow you to do that. So you're going to have to go in and manually select each folder at least, but that's a lot better than going in and selecting the folder of each clip. So let's grab another one here and open it up, and sure enough we see them all showing up here. Now once they're in the source browser, you can do one of two things. You could, if you know that you want to have access to all of them in the source bin, just go ahead and use your Control-A key, and you can either add and transfer to bin or simply add to bin. The difference is if you use add to bin, it's much faster, and you'll be just working with the media directly off the hard drive that you saved it to when you transferred them from your CF cards. If you use the add and transfer to bin, Edius will actually make a copy of each media clip and add them to your project folder. So if you're going to use that option, make sure that your project folder is on a hard drive that has lots of room on it, because you're going to be actually copying and adding each one of these media clips with their full file size, and so it's going to really add to your bin. But I've found that simply just using the add to bin process is quite fast, and Edius is able to play these native files that come right off the camera without any problem. So now it's finished that. Let's go over to a bin, and we'll see that they're all showing up here. While we were there in Kathmandu, we happened along a demonstration and jumped out into the street and got some shots of it. But you can see that Edius has no problem playing these native files that come right off the camera. They don't have to be converted or transcoded to a Canopus codec in order for them to play in real time. You may have noticed that they kind of jittered a little bit while I was playing it. But that's because we're running this tutorial software in the background, capturing everything, and it's taking up some resources. You may have noticed that the timeline did not go to red up here, so it is playing it in real time. And the only really thing to remember is that if your media doesn't show up in the source browser, but you think that it should, just remember to right-click on the designation that best suits your footage, and then work with the open folder, navigate to your media, select the folder, hit OK, and now it shows up. And when you click on it once, it might go through an analyzing process, but then they should show up fine. All right, well, we will keep you updated with any further changes or additions or tricks that we might find out about the source browser. So if you're running up against a problem using your source browser that we haven't covered either in this tutorial or one of the previous tutorials on bringing in media, then maybe just check back here at this tutorial. We may have added some things that might cover the issue that you're having. But for now, that's it for the Source Browser Revisited.